Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Let's Get Tender, Money Conversations That Matter. I'm your host, Marlene Elizabeth. Have you ever wondered if maybe an old emotional wound may be interfering with your ability to earn greater income for yourself in your business and life? Well, I recently read a quote from a motivational and successful author and speaker who passed away just recently, late last year, but left an inspiring legacy behind her. Her name was Shakti Gawain, and here's what she said. Since money is energy, our financial affairs tend to reflect our life energy. And so when your creative energy is moving free flowingly, so is your money. But if your energy is blocked, so is your money. In today's episode, you'll meet Dr. Michelle Peticolas, an entrepreneur and expert on emotional wounds, loss, and unsolved grief, who empowers leaders and changemakers to face their fears and reclaim their authentic power. Dr. Peticolas is a national speaker and workshop leader. Her award-winning documentary series, Secrets of Life and Death, is screened in university classrooms throughout the United States, Canada, and Australia. The films began as a response to the loss of both of her parents in 1998, and it not only helped her to heal her grief and her regrets, but also was the catalyst to her career in coaching and speaking. With a PhD in sociology and 18 years of experience, she coaches people through major challenges, and she's also featured in the best-selling anthology, Breaking Barriers. Get ready for a tender money conversation packed with valuable tips to support your entrepreneurial success.
Welcome to Let's Get Tender, Money Conversations That Matter, a video podcast series with certified money coach Marlene Elizabeth, with amazing weekly guests who share their inner challenges, personal triumphs, and inside tips and strategies so you can prosper, lead, and love bravely in business and life. So get comfy and get ready to grow money with.
Welcome to Let's Get Tender, and I am so excited to introduce my beautiful guest today, Michelle Peticolas. Welcome, Michelle, to the show.
Thank you, Marlene. I'm really pleased to be on your show.
I am so excited to have you here. And Michelle, please, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what you do and a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for asking. I call myself an inner game expert. I empower leaders and change makers and would-be leaders and change makers to overcome their fears and break through their blocks so that they can step into their authentic power. And I like to add the tag, live and die without regret. I actually started out working with people around grief and loss and death because I was drawn into this whole field through the loss of my parents. And what I discovered was at the core, at the root of people's problems are early childhood wounds and trauma that hold them back and keep them small. So that's what I work with.
Wow, that's powerful work, Michelle. So powerful. And so I'm so excited to have you here today to talk about a little bit about money.
Yes, money, important.
Yes. Oh, as one of my previous guests said, Bonnie Bonadeo, money's always a great conversation to have, and I couldn't agree more. So, Michelle, what is your first memory of money?
So the memory that I'm remembering for today, I was pretty young, but I was in school and somehow I ended up with extra money. Like I was supposed to pay for something that day at school, but they didn't take it or they didn't want it. And I went out and I bought some candy. This is a long time ago. They had this candy called Pixie Sticks and Lick-O-Maid, which is basically envelopes full of sugar, colored sugar. And I came home and my mother found out and she had a fit. And I took that to mean that it is not okay to spend money on myself.
You know, and it's so powerful, isn't it, when because this is a question that we often don't stop to think about. You know, we deal with money every single waking hour of our life, and even sometimes in our sleeping hours, right? Mm-hmm. And yet this one simple question about what our first memory of money is can really bring some insight,
It can.
right? And so, like
Yes.
you
Yeah.
shared, so Michelle, then kind of moving forward in your money story, is there a certain limiting belief around money that you have been able to identify in your life that has kind of been kind of a stumbling block for you?
Well,
Yeah.
yes. And so I worked on this, and it came from some of us, we grow up and we believe that we're not enough.
Yeah.
Something happened in our childhood. They believed that we were not enough. I didn't bond with my mother, and so I believed that I wasn't enough, that I didn't belong. So the limiting belief was that I had to work hard to justify whatever money I earned. And what this resulted in, I started out as a grief coach. I got the worst, most difficult, most crazy clients, and I would struggle with them. And that was the limiting belief. I had some really tough clients.
Mm. So kind of what you're saying too, or tell me if I'm understanding this right, is that there was a sense that you were kind of attracting this struggle because of the belief.
Well, I wanted to justify what I was asking for working with me. That was the way in which I got in my head that I was worthy of the money that I was making.
Mm.
So shifting that thought was very important because it was very stressful to work with people who were angry and would direct it at you. And if you tried to help them, they would throw all their anger at you. It's like, ah! Or they argued with everything that you said. It was just really hard.
Mm-hmm. And if that struggle continues on too long, somehow there will be a breakdown, right? Whether it's in our
Yes.
own health, our own confidence,
Yes.
or
Yes.
maybe even the ultimate in
Yes.
walking away from
Yes.
the wonderful work that we set out to achieve.
Yes. Well, and to understand that there are clients who are ready for us, and those are the ones we want to work with, not the clients who are not ready for us. So also that feeling that, oh, you got to take anybody. You don't. You don't have to take anybody. You don't need to take somebody who is not a good fit.
Hmm. There's definitely an art to the whole business of coaching, right? When you step into this world, there's definitely an art to it. There's definitely so many different things to learn about being in this business, so that we can stand and do this work in a way that's really life-giving and affirming, not only for our clients but for us too, right?
Well, absolutely. And of course, the only way in which you can really be of service to your client is if you are taking care of yourself, because that's when you're able to be guided and to be vibrating at a level in which you can really be of service.
Couldn't agree more. And that's a real it can be a real challenge, especially for women sometimes when we struggle with our own self-care. And so that's why this conversation is so important about our financial self-care.
Yes.
So Michelle, what sort of brave action steps then did you start taking to shift this belief around feeling that you had to really work really hard to earn
Well,
your.
I fired my clients. I fired the difficult ones, and I don't take them anymore. So that was the first brave step, was to say, I don't need to do this anymore. Because, if my inner child is all freaked out because these people are like attacking me, uh, I'm not going to be able to do this work. And so that was the first brave step, was to start setting those boundaries, to saying, what I need is important. And if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else. So that was the first brave step. The other thing after that was that I started listening to and getting engaged in a lot of prosperity consciousness workshops. Some really, really great tips, like sandwiching your difficult tasks with pleasure. I loved that. And working on the mindset, and let's see, pleasure. Oh, and keeping your state high all the time. Keep doing the things that uplift yourself. Doing the things that you love to do. If
Mm.
you're working and you're a coach at something that you really don't love to do, you shouldn't be doing it, because coaching is all about being able, you really have to stand in your power. And it isn't going to work if at a certain level your heart's not into it.
Yes, absolutely. And one of those brave heart, as I call them, I like to call them brave heart steps or brave heart tips, is, when you talk about keeping your vibrational energy high, I bet that is, especially with the work you do around grief and sadness and sorrow, and having a place for that as well. I bet there's a lot of really valuable work that you do to help people kind of balance both, right?
Well, I teach my clients how to release the emotions that are trapped. When our bodies get triggered by any kind of fear that's left over from our childhood, we do something, we take an action that goes against everything that we've been taught about how we should be, that will trigger this fear response in the body. And the body, there's chemicals that get released into your body, and there's this agitation. If you've ever been angry and tried to rein that in, you get a sense of how powerful these bodies are. And so what I help my clients to release that energy in a way that they can actually release it in 2 minutes or less.
And that all contributes to keeping that vibrational energy high, right? It just kind of releases that energy, the energy that's holding them back.
That's right. And you have to my belief is that you have to let that energy go first. If you try and force yourself to be in a high, in a high state, you're not fooling anybody, least of all the gods of money.
That's so true. Michelle, that's so true. So now, Michelle, what belief do you hold true now about money that empowers you in your business?
What I believe is that money is energy, and that it comes and goes, and that as I stay in a positive state, energy will be attracted to me. But I also believe that energy almost has its own persona. And money needs to be of service, just like I need to be of service. And if I go and squirrel it away in a bank somewhere, there's going to be this impulse to get out, to kind of drain away, because it says, you're not using me, you're just hiding me in a closet. So I invest my money so that it feels like it's being of service.
And being able to cultivate that belief, in what ways did you do that? What helped you to get to that point where you were able to kind of have that empowering belief about money?
It's a work in progress, I got to tell you, because there's part of me, that fear part of me, that loves to squirrel money away. And I think that's sort of wired into our mammalian bodies of, hiding and saving the nuts for the winter time, for the lack time. And yet what I have experienced is that is a mistake if you do too much of that. The other part is, yes, it's good to invest money, and I was brought up to believe that it was okay to spend money on your tools. But I also need to spend money on myself, because that inner child who guides a lot of our feelings needs to feel loved and appreciated, and this body needs to feel nurtured so that it will cooperate with us in attracting money.
Great point. Great point. So what would you say then, Michelle, is, have you had any lessons that you've learned in your business that you can actually apply to your relationship with money? Like, I'll give you an example. Like for me, I know that one of the most important lessons I learned when I first started in my own business is the importance of support, of allowing myself to be supported. And one of those ways isn't just, it's with all the resources, whether it's people or extra time or money, it's all those ways of allowing support into my life. And so I was able to kind of apply that into my relationship with money as well. So how about you?
That is such a good point. And that is one of the points that I make, is that not only are we existing in these bodies and we have these minds that tell us all these things based on what we were given as children, but we are also social beings. We are actually wired. I love the biology of the body. We're wired to bond with other people. And if we surround ourselves with people that tell us that we can never accomplish anything, or, oh, you know, it's too hard, or the economy, or we get that information, our body believes whatever we tell it. It'll say, oh, okay. So it's really important, like what you said, to support ourselves, both in terms of the information that we absorb, that we read, to have that be supportive of what we believe is possible, and to have people who are also really cheering us on. So I really recommend that everybody have a coach who is an entrepreneur, to have somebody who is always encouraging them and saying, yes, you're going in the right way. I had a coach once who said to me, most of us don't have enough coaches. And oftentimes one coach is not enough. You need more than one coach. I think I have like 2 or 3 right now that are helping me on different areas that I need to feel that support. Oh yeah, that was really good. And get that pat on your back, because you can pat yourself on the back, but it helps when you get the pat from other people.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, I think that's one of, that was another valuable lesson that I learned when I first started in my business is, you know, when I first started, I was tempted, and I did end up doing a lot of group coaching programs, which were awesome and wonderful. And it gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of people. However, I do really highly recommend, when you first get started in your business, if you can, and if your budget allows, to work one-on-one with a coach.
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
you know, it just really helps you to get your results quicker. And in the end, in the long run, you truly do end up saving time and precious resources
Money.
like money. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
the other thing is also supporting yourself, recognizing when you have wins, and not always being that self-critical, oh, I have to work harder, harder, harder. It's not about working harder. It really isn't. And really take time to celebrate when you have successes, even little successes. It's really important.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful and so true, Michelle. So true. So, Michelle, what have you learned to be true about money that you wish you would have already known when you first started your business?
Well, I think that knowing that money was energy, and the other thing that I said about money needing to be of service, that was huge,
Mm.
because that habit of saving, which I know a lot of people in America do not have that habit of saving, and so it's good to have a habit of saving, but it's also, you have to balance it, because money, you know, if you save your money for a rainy day, rain will happen. If you use the money, it's like, if the money is needed, it will show up. So for example, earlier in this year, I went to the dentist, and I hadn't gone to the dentist in a while because my favorite dentist retired. And so it was really hard to find somebody to replace him with. So I go to the dentist, and it turns out that I finally have to get a cap on a root canal that I had done 5 years ago. And it was going to cost me $3,000. And I'm like, oh my God. And shortly thereafter, I signed up like 4 clients.
Mm.
So the money will come if you need it, if you trust, if you believe, if you don't stay in that place of, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's like, okay, it'll happen. You have to
Mm.
believe it, and you have to keep on having that high vibration.
Trust is such a key component, isn't it?
It totally is.
Yes, it really is. And you also touched on something that could be part of a whole nother show or even a whole series when you said that as Americans, you know, we tend to not be, you know, savers, and we are big spenders. And, you know, we have this, the cultural force, right? That's always constantly, you know, the advertisements that appeal to our emotions, and we really find ourselves sometimes spending more than we ever would have when we walked out the door that day.
It's true.
You know,
It's
simply
true.
because of all the different advertising, the consumer, the consumer society that we live in. And yet at the same time, as entrepreneurs, it's an exciting, place to be as well, you know, and it's part of, I think, what makes I don't know, America great too as well.
Well,
Not
it's
the overspending, but
yeah,
the business,
yeah,
but being self-sufficient, but being able to use your gifts and your talents to serve other people and to accumulate wealth in such a way that it blesses other people. That's what I really love.
yes, yes, yes.
I'm sorry, you were going to say something. Go ahead, Michelle.
I'll see if I can remember it, but
Oh, sorry.
it has to do with the balance. It's the balance between um, being able to save a certain amount of money, but not going overboard. So I told you I was definitely in the spendthrift category. This is funny, but when I was living in New York City, I could walk down Fifth Avenue and not look at any of the shop windows because I was afraid that if I would look, they would like suck me in and vacuum out all my money. And that's not a good, actually, you can go and enjoy stuff even without buying. You can, just feel the wealth of that. One of my coaches suggested an exercise, which is to put like $100 in your pocket and go to a store, or maybe nowadays $300, and go to a store and look at all the things you could buy for $300. Not individual things, $50 here or there, but actually, oh, what could I buy for $300? Oh, I could buy that vacuum cleaner, or oh, I could buy that, I don't know, makeup kit, or something that's going to reduce my wrinkles or whatever, and do that for like, a couple hours and see how you feel afterwards. Because part of it is that energy, if you like excited, money says, oh, okay, let me help you.
I love that exercise. And I think what's so valuable about that exercise is it helps a person, an individual, get connected with their own sense of power, their own sense of, which is your choice, your decision. And so that you're being mindful and present and not just allowing, sure, if an ad comes your way or something comes your way, you're being thoughtful, mindful, and you're exerting your power of choice.
Yes.
And and it does require planning and having a vision and goals. It's all of it. It's a bigger picture than just that one moment. But yeah, but as I said, that could be a whole another show. So
Well, and so I haven't. And so another thing came through to me that Source wants me to share, and that is that sometimes that impulse to spend money is about replacing the love that we really need. And so we buy because that feels like we're loving ourselves, but it isn't really doing the trick. And so we keep on having to buy more and more. Another example of that is that you see like in men who keep on wanting to have more power and make more money and more money and more money. It's that same impulse that instead of really going after love, which is what we all need, that's what we need as human beings, they have substituted this other thing, this material object, in replacement of this feeling that we need inside, this feeling of fullness and completion and empowerment.
oh, beautifully said, Michelle. Beautifully said. It all really does come down to love, doesn't it?
It does.
And I know that when we talk about money, a lot of times the conversation is avoided because there's a fear of talking about power. And I've personally experienced that. When I first started my own journey of really examining my relationship to money, it led me to really see my own fear of power and then my own power. And my life reflected it. And what happened for me is that I was able to, again, go in prayer and really get centered around it. And just this idea that welled up in me in that time when I struggled around it is that I started realizing that if I looked at power more like water, then it wasn't so scary for me. And I realized because, and that money is like water, it's essential, and
Yes.
it's ordinary and it's extraordinary, just like water. And so that really kind of helped me to kind of keep my own perspective and understanding around it so that I can be that empowered person in the world that, that I was meant to be and that we are all meant to be, so.
So I think of power, well, of course, money is one kind of power, but our power is our ability to enroll people in our vision. And to the extent that we believe that what our vision is going to be of benefit to the world and to other people, that's what we need to do. And so in order to do that, we have to feel powerful in and of ourselves. We have to have that confidence that says that's going to attract people. Because people aren't attracted to scared, insecure, self-doubting people. They just aren't.
Exactly. And there is no fear in love, right? So you're right.
Right. That's right.
Absolutely.
There is no fear in love. So that reminded me, there was another thing that I had a fear about money. Oh, that if I made a lot of money, it would mean, there are several things. One is it would mean more work. And there's always the fear that, oh my God, if it got bigger, I'm gonna have so much work, or it'd even be more scary. And the other fear that some of us have, and I had for a while, was the fear that I wouldn't be loved. That if I say was more successful than a family member or a spouse, that they would abandon me. And I actually had some experiences that in my psyche confirmed that. And so I have to change that story.
Oh, yes, that is, as a money coach, I come across that a lot too. That's a real common fear that if I am successful, if I, in Australia, they call it the poppy syndrome, I think it is, right? Where you pop your head up and,
Yes.
yeah, but just that, yeah, there's something bad's going to happen if I dare thrive. So wonderful. It's been so wonderful talking with you, Michelle.
Thank
And
you.
I would love for you to share, how can people find you to learn more about what you do in your work, or even just to continue this conversation about money?
Yes. Yes, well, thank you. So, of course, that you can all go to my website, which is, you'll love this, secretsoflifeanddeath.com. And if you would like to take advantage of my little free offer, which is a guided meditation that helps you to tap into your own emotions and release them, and that's a really good tool to be able to have, you can go to releaseandthrive.com, and that will take you to that special offer. I think it's called Stress Release Body Scan, but it helps to get you inside of your body and find out where the blocks are and release them.
Oh, so essential. I really highly recommend you check out that tool for those of you who are watching today, because it is so important to be connected with your body when it comes to wanting to unfold your financial potential, for sure. So thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for being
You're
here.
welcome. Thank you.